And we're back. Well, I'm back, at least for now. Um, Welcome back, everybody, to another episode here of Black Friday, where these opinions are not for sale. Today, you've got myself, Cristian, and we've got Matt White from the Matt White Show joining us. Matt, thanks for coming on, buddy. Really appreciate it.
It's been a long time coming. I'm happy to be here. It's been a good time.
Yeah, this show's been a long time coming. We've been pretty busy going into the holidays season with America Fest and events that we host on campus and everything that we've been up to. So now it's finally, nice to hit the new year and finally get going on this and getting back to what I love doing the most, man, ranting about how politicians don't care about us. I mean,
that's what I love about you, Cristian. And you come on my show and I was like, man, I got to make sure to tame you down a little bit so we can get to like some solutions, because we got so many issues to talk about. And I know one of the things we just saw this week is you have the politicians that are making millions and millions of dollars worth of insider trading deals. And I remember you kind of predicted some of those. So you're always pretty spot on, I say.
I didn't know that was going to come up just as soon as it did, but I knew it was an issue. And if you guys aren't following or not familiar here, Unusual Whales, which is a really cool blog site, they follow insider trading and unusual trades and deals that go on throughout the years, and they came up with all the data compiled from 2021, and they showed which congressmen and women made out the most and kind of exceeded expectations. And it was really unusual. I mean, if you make that much money, it's pretty unusual, unless you're getting the inside scoop on everything going on. And there were a lot of Republicans on that list. Let's name off a few here. I do have this here.
I know your best friend was on there.
Oh, my best friend might have been on there. We have Austin Scott, Rep. Brian Mast, French Hill, John Curtis, Dan Crenshaw.
Oh, that's hold up right there. Dan Crenshaw. Oh,
Top
man.
5. Dan Crenshaw was number 5.
Hey, but he's against the establishment, right? He's for the people. And
he fights for the people, man. As soon as he, gets that inside deal and lets you eat the crumbs, that's what he's here for, man.
What are these neoconservatives for? What are they good for? Let's be real.
Man, selling your country out, going back to the Middle East and bombing brown children. If we're being 100% honest, that's about what it's good for right now at the moment. And then right after Dan is Nancy Pelosi. And
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson, apparently, according to Tucker Carlson. That's where we're at with it now. And it's pretty disappointing, because those are the people that are supposed to be fighting for us, that are the supposed freedom fighters that are fighting against the establishment, yet they're doing everything that we don't like, And that's really disappointing to see. And of all things, they're literally they're jumping the system here. That's not what we called on them to do. We asked for them to go out there and put forward legislation that's going to help the American people keep more money in their pocket. And they're out there just cutting small deals for themselves and making a lot of money. Honestly, they're making a lot of money here, and it's unethical, and it's immoral, and it's bad. And that's the bottom line of it. Why is it? Because it's immoral and unethical.
But to them, they don't see that.
Martha Stewart went to prison for this. He literally went to prison for this. And if we were to do something like this, we would go to prison for this. They go and then they buy houses.
Well, when we think about it, when we see Republicans on there, I wouldn't necessarily call them conservatives or very much true Republicans in nature. Both parties have been corrupted over time. And when you look at it, and you look at the sole root of liberalism and libertarianism, and it's focused on leave me alone. It's all about the individual, and that's what it is. And what we've seen in politics, and it doesn't surprise me when you see left-wing groups, their leaders go out and buy big properties and mansions, because they do worship themselves. They don't worship God. They don't care about the Americans. And that's when we talk about neoconservatives not caring about Americans. I think there's this big disconnect. And in 2016 with Donald Trump, you had people wake up to go, oh, shoot. There's actually people that I can go to DC and actually get some stuff done, even though he had a gridlock government, 2 years of presidency, he wasn't able to do anything. And then we're now looking at the Biden administration. Everything costs more. It's a lot more difficult to live in America, even though under all of this, we still are many blessed in many of the countries around the world. But we need leaders that are going to fight for the American people. And I think you agree with that, Cristian. I know you emphasized that on the last show we did.
We absolutely need it, and we have to have it, and we must demand it, and we can't take anything less than that. You know,
accountability.
We can't be complacent with this.
Yes, and I remember
because we've had this for decades and decades and decades. And just in 2016, we saw the shift. We saw this shift, and we can't go back there anymore. Like, we're past that. There's no going back, and if we do, we're not going to make it. And the state of the country as we know it is going to cease to exist. It's going to be bad. And so this is why we have to come in here and literally hold these people accountable for this. This isn't good. People should be asking tons of questions. They should be asking Dan Crenshaw, how is it that you're allowed to make, cut all these deals before they happen and know what's going to happen up and down? Yet I don't get a lick about this, and I'm the one taking L's and losses. I can't afford anything with this economy. And you're talking about keeping us out there in the Middle East and costing more taxpayer dollars. How is that okay?
Yeah, it's not okay. And I think we, the American people, demand better of our people. And I think this election is going to be a big truth tell. Is many Republicans are already thinking, oh, we're going to win. We're going to win 2022. And we said the same thing in 2020. We kind of thought, okay, we have it in the bag. Donald Trump's going to be able to get enough votes. And of course, we can get on the election, but that's a whole different topic about election integrity and if the election, but aside from that is, we don't keep accountability. We kind of continue to vote for the same people election after election. Well, at least we have power, and those guys don't. That's the platform that the Republican Party runs on. And we're like, why aren't they doing anything? It's because they're running on the patriotic imagery. They're running as, oh, I'm a proud American. We got our Second Amendment. They're running on values, but they're not running on solutions. And half of these guys don't even want to put their political lives on the line for the American people. They just want to go in. And when we see things like the Stock Act being used by people within the establishment to make millions and millions of dollars, I don't know, Cristian, you don't get any bonus information or inside information on trading stocks. I sure don't. And they're taking advantage of people, and we need to change that. And I think the people that are mobilizing against this, I think we're going to win. I think we know in the end, if we're able to mobilize and get people in, and we have God on our side, I think we can turn things around.
I genuinely think we can. I'm optimistic about this. While there is a lot of negatives here, and there's a lot of bad things happening and people that aren't accountable, there is a lot of good here. And, the white pill, there is a bright future ahead, but we have to eat. But that bright future is something that has to be worked for. It's not something that's going to be handed over and given. It's going to be coming with people that are active in their communities, that are demanding accountability, that are fighting on the daily basis for things that are right and just. That's the only way it's going to happen. Speaking of fighting for things that are right and just, the March for Life will be next Friday, January 20th. I'm very excited because this is the first time that I'll be there. Matt, I know that you're going to be there too. And what are you like? Man, this is exciting because I've never really in my life ever thought I'd get to go out and participate in something like this before. And the stakes are higher than ever before. I mean, this is a really important year for this, more than ever.
Yeah. Well, very much so. When of course Roe v. Wade happened in the 70s, that kind of was a big win for liberals at the time, and they still hold this as a trophy. We've seen 50 million babies have died since Roe v. Wade, and being able to go in, and I think we are in a very crucial stage in this. I know the Supreme Court they've already started discussions in terms of being able to maybe overturn Roe v. Wade and give it back to the states. And I'm very hardcore on this position. I very much so. I know a lot of people are like, oh my goodness, I'm pro-life, but then they're very exception. We're not going to have arguments about when we should kill a baby. It's just wrong. It's straight up wrong. And we're going to stand for life. We're going to march for life. I'm excited. This is the first time that we've ever done this. And I think we need to get out there and show, hey, we have people that are going to back this up. And it continues to get bigger and bigger after year after year. And we're going into an election year. And I think it's going to be a good time.
This is massive. And I like this because it's not work related necessarily. And I love the work that I do, but this is important. Nothing that I do in my life and this work, anything, none of this matters unless we do have this right to life. None of this matters to me unless we have this. This is essential. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You can't have it without life. Okay. 1/3 of my generation of Black Americans are missing right now due to the travesty that is abortion, and that's gone through this country. It's kind of a hard to swallow pill when you think about it, and how we sell this off to people as freedom. We sell it off to women as bodily autonomy and as the opportunity to have a career, when in reality the idea of motherhood being slavery and not working at a corporate job for 30 to 40 years in a cubicle of slavery, it just mind boggles me. And it's one of the gravest evils that we can do, to dehumanize babies and just write them off as non-essential or as parasites or just virus. It's just diabolical to me, and it's one of the greatest stains on our society that we have. And I think we need to do everything that we can to get rid of this. We can't have this. This is something that's got to go, and I think it's imperative that we all go ahead and fight for this. This, if there was a hill to die on, it's this one. It is this one.
Yeah, I 100% agree, and it's a core essence of leftism, and the thought of it is, remember, there is no God to worship. There's no things in terms of liberalism and leftism, and very much so abortion is kind of one of those things that's a key element. And we can all agree, I think, that leftism and liberalism is very much narcissistic individualism. Is I'm so free as a person that I can kill my own baby. And I know it's one of those things. I remember going to college. One of the things, I had a good friend who was in a class, and I remember the discussion of abortion came up. And my good friend was, hey, he had an opinion on abortion, of course, very much pro-life. And I remember one of our student body president at the time actually stood up in the room and said, men shouldn't have an opinion on this, and ended up leaving after class and ended up getting very much physical. And it's like, man, you have to like worship yourself so much and be so much of an individual that you're like, oh my gosh, I'm for the mass murdering of 50 million and counting babies in this country. And it's a travesty. And like you said, over 1/3 of the Black population has been killed off because of this. And it's just not right. It's not right.
No.
So.
And my biggest question too here when we talk about this is, where are the churches? In the midst of all this going on, where are the churches? The one thing we're supposed to be able to cling to, the one institution that supersedes all, that we are, that we populate, that we go to each and every day, that should be the most vocal about this and standing for God's children, and a lot of them aren't.
They chose neutrality. Like they chose, we're not going to engage in the public sphere. We're not going to get involved. And you think the most vulnerable in society are newborn babies. They're not being protected. To think about that's a lot of children that could have been in this world. And that's people that have already had kids already. Think about if your kids weren't here and they're choosing to do so. And what do they sell young mothers is, oh, well, this is going to be the biggest type of like burden on your life, that having this kid is you're going to lose your freedom. So like I said, it very much goes back to leftism, and pretty much your idol becomes yourself. You're worshiping yourself and whatever you decide to call freedom. And that's where I have the biggest issue with libertarianism. And that's where we had this discussion this last week, is we said, well, freedom to do whatever you want, as long as it doesn't harm anybody. But that would mean, wouldn't this fall under it? Like, what is right and wrong? Where does this come into play on the arguments? So, yeah, sorry, I got off a little tangent there.
That's, absolutely here. We're talking about the sanctity of life here. And like you were saying, the way that society has told women that children are burdens and that are just a hassle to take care of. It's just another mouth to feed that costs money. And I live in Miami, and I'm not going to lie, I hang out with a lot of people. I have good friends. A lot of them don't want to be parents. And a lot of the reasons why they don't want to be parents is because they think kids are burdens. They cost money. They won't be able to travel. They're not going to have the freedom that they want. They're not going to be able to go out and do everything else that they want. Well, I think it's time to grow up at some point and to do what we're meant to do. Okay. We are adults. We have duties. We have responsibilities as children of God. We were made for something greater. I genuinely believe that we were. And I think the greatest accomplishment of my life is going to be the kids that I raise and what I teach them and what I bring into this world and what they're going to get out of it. at the end of the day. It's going to be them. It's not going to be my job. It's not going to be how high ranked I get in whatever profession that I have. It's not going to be the money that I make, the car that I drive, the house that I have, or the status or how cool I am with everybody. That's not going to be it. No. It's going to come from me, but it's not going to be me or just all this facetious, all this, nonsensical stuff around me. It's going to be my kids. That's what it's going to be at the end of the day. And if I'm not out here openly, trying to save, children here, and literally, if I know that something is wrong and I see something wrong happening, we have an obligation to go ahead and try to stop that and to go ahead and put a stop to that. This isn't the whole, well, I don't agree with it, but it's not my, it's not my right to do. No. This is bad and you need to do something about it. There's enough of this standing on the sidelines, people. It's time to get in. It's time to go.
Yep, I'm just looking over some of the headlines if there's anything in the news leading up to the march at all. And, okay, let's see. Yeah, it says 15-week. DeSantis comes out with the 15-week abortion ban. He said that makes a lot of sense. Florida abortion legislation would ban procedure after 15 weeks. And like you were saying, Cristian, it's like, okay, what's the hill to die on? And this is one that for many years, a lot of people like one-issue voters. And looking back on the history of this case, it shouldn't have even passed in the first place. For everything that we looked at through Roe versus Wade. And like you said, it's a sanctity of life. Like people have the opportunity to go out in the world and you become a God in essence when you choose who you bring into this world. When God says he knows you by your name before you were even born. And they're literally sacrificing our children.
No, in 1 Corinthians, the Bible literally says that our bodies are not our own, that we don't belong to ourselves. That's not our call to make.
Yep, and that everybody had been inscribed with morality on the heart to know good from wrong, like good from bad. And it goes back to even Genesis, Adam and Eve, like, I'm going to sell you. And pretty much it's very much, how Satan and of course comes in the serpent to come tempt Eve. And he's like, oh, I will give you can be the ruler of everything. You can be ruler. And very much when we look at the left nowadays, they're like, oh, well, look, you can be free. You can have casual sex whenever you want. You can smoke whatever you want. You can do literally anything you want. As long as it doesn't hurt anybody, Cristian. Doesn't hurt anybody. You can go and pick and be a slave to your own vices and desires. And that's acceptable. And we wonder why everything has become backwards in this world, because this nation, like it or not, was based on Christian values. And we've gotten so far away from that. And now we are literally sacrificing kids. And now they're coming after our kids. If they're already born, they're coming after them. I was doing some research this week. I sent it to you yesterday. Yeah. There's literal conferences where they're targeting specifically 5 to 12-year-olds to teach them about gender and queer theory and critical race theory, and really very much so exploiting these young children. And that's just unacceptable. And that's why it's so important that you have to get involved. We have to go out and do the stuff that doesn't sound fun all the time, is running and getting right-wing, authentically conservative candidates into office and replacing these corrupt school board members. Because we've sat on the sideline and many people say, okay, this last generation, they were so busy raising your family and working and providing. I get that. But during that time, the left was hard at work, taking away every single thing that we knew in this country. And now we have no common link. We have the most depressed generation coming out. We have the most suicidal generation coming out because of this disastrous liberalism and leftism ideology.
For a society that has everything they could ever want, they're the saddest. We're the saddest, the most depressing, and the most suicidal and unhappy that we, has ever been probably in history that we could see. Because we haven't seen rates like this happen before. We haven't seen these things happen before. It didn't happen, 20, 30 years ago. It wasn't like this. Why is it like this now? We can look at church attendance rates from 20, 30 years ago to now. I don't know if there's a trend there, but I wouldn't, people are saying, oh, the correlation, not causation. Hey, it's like, hey.
Yeah, no, very much so.
People have replaced God with some temporary things that make them very unhappy. And after those things make them really unhappy, they might send them off the deep end, and bad things happen. Really bad things happen. It's really unfortunate to see. But when you have a society that just says your vices are your freedoms, go ahead and do so as long as you don't hurt anybody else, and we continue on this trend, it's not going to get better. These issues will not get better. They're not going to get, it's not going to be solved. And the longer we keep acting like this is just a physical thing, no. There's a spiritual war going on here, folks. There really is. And the longer we keep denying it, it's just going to continue and going on the trend. It really is. So when you were talking about the CRT indoctrination for youth, it was from the Free Minds, Free People, the organization.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you found with the Free Markets, Free People organization and what they've got going on?
So this is actually one of my good connects up north here in California. She has been an expert on the field in terms of doing research and figuring things out about what is being taught in the classroom. And one of those big things is we now know it as ethnic studies, or as many now in the popularized term of critical race theory. And of course, Cristian, you've heard, we don't teach critical race theory. We don't do any of this. And just this last September, we came across some websites and stuff where they were hosting a conference, and there were some different things. I'm trying to pull it up. But it was a Free Minds, Free People conference. And the conference was for kids 5 to 12 years old. And it was in July. And they talked about ethnic studies, transnational solidarity, Save Arab American Studies Coalition. And you had people like Angela Davis, a communist, very open communist, helped organize this event as well. And I thought it was interesting. They said, in the face of escalating attacks on teaching Palestinian studies and critical race theory, we can't hold back. Well, attacks on critical race theory, but hey, we're not teaching critical race theory in our schools, though, Cristian, right? It's not being taught, right?
It's pretty odd, right?
Yeah, it's pretty odd. Why are these things being attacked? They said, we can't hold back. We need your experience, your voice, and your energy. And you were required, if you were a parent, to bring your 5 or 12-year-old to this conference to learn about gender studies and queer theory and about race and who you are. And I sent you this one specifically. It's called Black Panther in Solidarity with the Rainbow Bear. And there's just various different speakers from all across the country on here. And if you look into them, very much public Facebooks on here. And I know this stuff, I want to send maybe a link in below or whatever, and people can kind of check it out for themselves. But this stuff needs to be out there. This is literal indoctrination, like at the core. And this one, but yeah, Black Panther in Solidarity with the Rainbow Bear. The young activists will explore ways that children have used activism and play to demand change. And this will be kids from all over the United States showing their support for Black Lives Matter movement, protest racial injustice, and the kids will use sidewalk chalk and action figures, stuffed bears, Legos, dolls to create powerful and playful protest. We're training them to protest already, Cristian, at such a young age. And so it's yeah.
The word would be degenerate, I believe. Let's see, yeah, there we go. We can pull this up now. You guys can actually look and see this for yourself. Yeah. This is literally what they're up to, right now at the moment. Let me take this banner away so you guys can actually see this. This is, the state of what we're going on. Kids are no longer allowed to be kids. They have to be activists, and they have to be activists for things that they don't understand, the things that they shouldn't have to understand, because again, they're kids and they need to be, innocent and have that innocence protected for as long as possible, as they are children. But no, and here we're going to introduce them to transracial identity, to gender theory, to Black Lives Matter, and queer whatever, and Marxism, of course, Marxism as well, and to have them begin protesting at such a young age for things that they don't even understand. And the thing is, we keep doing this, and they're going to get to college and still not understand anything, but keep going as hard as they can for these things. And it's going to be even worse when they hit the real world, Yep,
it's just building in confusion, and it's going to continue to put society in the wrong trends. Like, these are so far away. I don't even know what our founders would think if they found out this was being taught to our kids. Like,
do you think the free market can work this out, Matt? Do you think the free market's going to work itself out and fix this?
No, not at all.
I don't think it's going to fix this. I genuinely don't.
Yeah, I don't agree with that, and I'm not going to be one of those people that, oh yeah, Christian, it's going to work itself out. It's going to work itself out. But in its pure essence, liberalism always leads back into leftism and degeneracy, and in human nature, leftists already naturally decline anything in terms of hierarchy, reality, human nature, and we believe as human nature is naturally bad. It's a biblical principle. We are sinners, and we only get redeemed through Jesus Christ. And when you think that people are naturally good, then you can pursue a thing where
people believe people are generally good, and then no, we're bad. We're born in sin. I mean, we weren't made in sin. We were created, in the image of Jesus. So we weren't created in sin. We were made into a sinful world. This world is sinful, and things that we do all around us that's sinful. So we're not just generally naturally good people.
And it goes back to I believe James Madison said it during the Constitutional Convention. He talked about is if men were angels, we wouldn't need government. There would be no need, right? Yeah, there would be no need for government. There would be no rules. There would be, why do we institute seatbelt laws? Why do we institute speed limits? Why do we institute this? Oh, well, I don't believe in those things. So is that being established on what I believe in? Are you legislating morality, as I often hear from people both on the left and within the libertarian side of things? And liberalism and leftism is just a cousin of libertarianism. Not much things change. It may be a little bit more for freedom. But again, it's like the ugly cousin, it's one of those things, and I'll go at it all day because I solely believe within the Christian fundamentals. And I believe that the only way that you can be in this world and go without a purpose, and that's maybe people are going to go, oh, well, I'm not Christian or I'm not that. But look what happens when there is no God or presence of God in society. We get all of this backwards things we have across the whole country. So yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, and going back to will the market work itself out? I say no, especially when you have these corporations that put up black squares that say Black Lives Matter, that market this stuff for their woke capitalism campaigns to make a ton of money. And then you go to their job training if you want to work for them, and they're pushing CRT through their job training. So this stuff isn't going anywhere anytime soon. These guys generally run the market, and they're pumping this stuff through their systems. There's plenty of employees that have come out and literally had screenshots and videos of all this stuff coming out, of everything from white people are inherently racist and they can't help it to everything to erasing, the white identity. And this isn't going away anytime soon if you just let the market play itself out, because it's not going to play itself out anytime soon. This is going to keep going. And the longer they keep attacking our youth, the more things have to be done. And that's where I always say all bets are off when it comes to children. Everything, it's off. When it comes to kids, I don't care anymore. Oh, you're authoritarian. You don't like freedom. No, those are kids. Okay. You don't have the right to ruin their innocence. You don't have the right to pump their head full of crap and confuse them on a basis where they don't even know who they are anymore. It's absolutely wrong. It's evil. And there's a bunch of selfish people just doing this for their own gain. And that's all it is. It's just beyond selfishness. People with egos, they just have to stroke it so much that they just prey on the weakest of them, and kids that are just innocent, that have no clue about what's going on, and their parents, they really think they're generally doing something good. A bunch of idiots, honestly. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. You're a bad parent. You're literally a bad parent. I'm sorry. You're a bad parent. You're probably not fit to be one. It's sickening. And I can't take it. I really can't deal with this. It's evil. It's beyond wrong. And I'll do anything I can to fight for the innocence of children. It's wrong. It's beyond wrong. And we need to stop that. Well, we can't legislate. And, I think we have to wield power here. This is something that we absolutely have to. And everybody should be able to come together on this on the right with the whole. If you can't come together on this, then I don't want anything to do with you in the movement. I want you out. If you're not willing to protect kids, I want you out. I don't think you should be a part of it.
Yep, that shouldn't even be up for discussion. And for so long, much of the establishment classes, we're going to have debates on when we should kill the baby, but don't get to the whole premise of, you guys are still killing babies. You're just killing them sooner than later, right? So the whole discussion's all, we're going to extend it for second trimester, third trimester. But at the end of the day, they're still going through with the abortions. It's not doing anything.
Yeah.
Until this stuff gets overturned and reversed.
Ron putting it back to 15 weeks, I still don't like it, to be honest with you. I still don't like it. Even heartbeat bills, do I really like it? Not that much. I think it does good, yes, but also it's still a baby, and I think it's still wrong morally. So I'm not necessarily, I can't just say, yeah, it's good when it's not, and that's where the compromise comes in. And you know what? We got to stop compromising with this. It doesn't matter. If we put any sort of restriction here, they're going to hate you. So why not go all the way with it? No matter what, they're not going to be satisfied. They won't support it. They're going to fight as hard as they can for any single restriction. Go and fight it all the way then. Go to conception and stop it there. Might as well. There's no Republican strong enough to go ahead and do so. I don't really think there is. And that's what disappoints me more than anything.
Yep, I 100% agree. What hill are you willing to die on? What are you going to do to help put a stop to this? Because like you said, you can negotiate all day, but at the end of the day, there's still babies that are going to be dead. So, and don't even get into the whole argument on that. It's like, go the whole way. Like, what are you going to do? And I think majority of people agree that is a life in there, and it's not what they call it. They don't call it a baby. They call it a fetus. And we have to stop conceding our values. We have to stop conceding. And I know this is very much so, like, you want to see a change, you have to get involved. It's not just complain. I see so many complainers within the conservative movement, but not enough doers. Get active. Go and knock doors, like I said, for authentically right-wing candidates that are actually going to be able to stand up for life. Not just say it, but actually do something about it. Because I believe if you don't go into office and get those promises accomplished, I think you should be primaried. I don't care how long you've been there, what legislation you passed, maybe in the past. The second you stop working for the American people, you're out. I'm done. I'm not going to deal with you. Like, that's me at the end of the day. And we need a lot more doers and a lot less just complainers and, oh, we can't do it. The Democrats are just too tough. Oh my goodness, we gotta concede. Oh my goodness, they're so scary. I'm like, no, these people are going after your kids. And they're coming for everyone. They've already gotten you. They already taxed the heck out of you. And now they're coming for your kids now because they are going to prepare to have perpetual power for the next few decades. And then you get into the whole immigration debate. They're setting themselves up for perpetual power. And if you haven't woken up yet, it's coming. And I think a lot of this goes to blame is what they told us growing up, Christian. They told us in history that when you saw tyranny, it was going to be some big bad guy that was going to come in and take everybody's guns and was going to force you to do things. And it was going to be economic and all this and that. But they've come in this last 2 years, they've made you wear masks. They've locked your country down and have done all of this. And people don't see it as tyranny. Huh?
And they didn't let you go to church.
And they didn't let you go to church. But no, that's not tyranny. I think we just have to come together this one time and they'll stop. But it's like, no, it never stops. And it's a big deal. I think it's a big deal that people aren't awake yet. And now we're on a couple boosters in, and this is COVID, like pandemic, whatever the heck you want to call it. I don't care. I know everybody on there has a different name for it. But it has to come to an end, and we need more leaders to stand up. We just can't have good old Ronnie in Florida standing up for everybody because that's only Florida. We're still suffering here in California. We still got to they're at least trying to attempt to make us wear masks in stores. Many don't enforce it anymore. Hopefully Newsom doesn't hear this. He'll impose another one, another mask mandate. But we have schools that are getting locked down again, and there's no proof of the Omicron being any more serious than anything else. And it goes back to, it makes me sad that people aren't awake to the tyranny that they're living under right now because it's comfortable. It's comfortable. I can still live life,
There's so many people that have just accepted what they're on right now, and they don't question it. That's a problem so much that I see today is that we don't question things, and then we get mad when other people do.
Yep.
Why
And
do I need to get another shot to? Oh, don't you want to save everybody else? Like, oh, hey, like, calm down. I'm asking a question. But why do we? You ask a question and then you're not welcome anymore. You
And
go against the narrative, the science. When did science become a political weapon or become a cudgel to beat people down with? Just science, and then you just like beat someone up and shut them up. Like, I never knew science to be that. That's what I didn't grow up when I would test out things and do science experiments. I thought it was just keep running things and keep questioning and debating all of it until you actually came to the right conclusion. But that's not what science is anymore. It's just whatever the National Institute of Health says or whatever the CDC says, and whatever people up in Washington D.C. that aren't in your communities that have no clue what's going on in your life say, and then you have to go do it. Totally makes sense.
Well, Cristian, there's no other things, and the left consistently goes to science because that's their God. That's their God. They don't worship God. They worship themselves. And so they go on the crutch of science. Oh, there we go. We got Nathan Ramirez, my boy. Hey, let's go. What's going on, Nathan? And going back to that, and we got Aiden. I don't know if Aiden's still with us. I know that one was a little while ago.
Salute, buddy.
But like you said, Cristian, you were so spot on right there with social media and even the public square is when we do not have power, who has power? The left. They set the narrative, they set the tone, and you question that, and they will exile every single one of us. They haven't done it yet because, like, you have to be a threat to the establishment. And if you're not a threat, they will keep you there. And until you're questioning it enough, that's why Joe Rogan, that's why you have this podcast coming down off YouTube, because it goes against the narrative of, oh, you need to get the vaccine, you're off. You're on questioning things on Facebook, you get fact-checked, you're off. You mentioned scripture on Facebook. My grandma got kicked off Facebook for a few days for posting scripture on Facebook.
Yeah.
Because it goes against their narrative. These are godless, sick people.
It's beyond sick. They went to court because we actually sued the Facebook fact checkers, and Facebook said, you can't sue us. Our fact checkers are just giving opinions.
They're just giving opinions.
They said they're giving opinions, so that's why you can't be sued, for opinions. And yeah, nobody seems to care about that. It really is going on here. Like, nobody understands the game. These people get to define whatever they want to define it as. They control the language. They control the narrative. They get to make anything into what they want it to. And you have to play by their rules. And if you don't,
they will exile you from society.
You are
and that's why it's kind of scary that even us discussing these topics right now, if we go and try to work in another field, this will and be used against us.
It very well.
This will be. You will be canceled. And I saw a history meme. I think this is funny. They were like, man, this cancel culture, this used to be something that happened many, like in 500 BC, they said that. Back then, you didn't just get canceled. You got exiled. They said, you got to get out. You got to move out of the country. I just think it's interesting. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got canceled. Oh my goodness. But then back then, in the political realm, they're canceling anything that goes against the narrative. And that is why we continue to see the push and what we did after sitting decades and decades and decades on the bench going, oh, it's all right. We're just going to let them do their thing, and keep conceding until we hit this point, which is just not good.
It's all going to come crashing down very, very soon if we don't do anything about this. Next for you here, Matt, I want to know your top 3 things here about what needs to change in the conservative movement if we want to see, something good actually come out of this and we actually start getting some wins in here instead of conceding ground and losing all the time. What do we need to change in the movement currently that you're seeing?
Okay, so number one, I always talk about this, is staying rooted in your belief system. And it kind of goes back to the concession point is nobody knows exactly what they believe in, and they'll shapeshift to make sure that it kind of aligns. Like there's things that, like I heard the other day, I saw a tweet and it was quoted on one of the tweets you had talked about libertarianism. They're like, well, I'm fiscally conservative, but I'm like socially liberal. So you're a liberal. So that doesn't belong in the conservative movement. I'm sorry. And that shouldn't be there. It's not a conservative principle. Like I'm very much traditional Christian conservative. That's where I stand. And nothing's gonna be able to change or shift that perspective at all. And it's not going to dictate any of my decision making. I think that's my first one, is you have to stay rooted in what you believe in. The second point goes into is concession. It goes into when you get pressure by the left, You cannot allow them to make you concede. And a lot of that becomes on the premise. If you play on the left's playing field, you're going to lose every single time. You need to set the premise, win the arguments, and you win the arguments by not playing on their field. They will fold. But so many conservatives that go, don't call me a racist, don't call me this, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden we lose the argument because we're like, oh, well, we're not trying to kick people out of this country that are citizens and blah, 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 blah. And it comes into like the whole reasoning behind it is only mean people oppose the welfare state. Bob opposes the welfare state. So that means Bob is a bad person. That is the leftist argument. And that's what they do to conservatives. And we fold like a freaking stack of cards every single time. And then my last point. So we have, of course, root in the values, don't concede, don't play on their premise playing field. And the last one is conservatives have to wield power. We're so scared of wielding power. Like if we have the right people, the competent, right-wing, authentically, the keyword authentic conservatism that we were founded on, we're conserving the fundamentals of our country, get into government and actually use it when we're there. Not make deals that delegitimize our platform, that dilute our belief system. We have to use it when we're there. So those are my 3 points.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, especially with the last one, is actually when we get there, we actually have to do something.
No, Christian, that goes against DC. That goes against the DC narrative, though.
You actually have to do something. I know your lobbyists would be very disappointed with you if you, were taking their big tech money and then actually try to pass legislation that would, limit their power. Oh my gosh. Oh man, but you might not get reelected. Oh my gosh, where are you going to find those millions of dollars to go run your reelection campaign? Well, maybe screw the reelection and fight for the American people, man. How about we just give up on this whole, what if I don't get your whole premise of being in office isn't to get reelected. Your premise in office is to serve the American people. If you're not serving the American people, you got to go. That's it. Okay.
Yep. And not serving the interests of others outside of the country. And that's been a big problem within the conservative movement is we've put other countries before us. We put foreign conflicts ahead of the American people. And for so long, we've abdicated for more of a global state, which the left wants. And very much so. So many people are telling me now, Donald Trump shouldn't run in 2024 because he's mean. He can't run. He's done. He's old. It's whatever, the same games. But the left wants him out of there as just as much as our establishment right wants him out of there. And we have to make sure that we get somebody. I think he's the front runner for 2024 until somebody hops in the race. I don't think DeSantis should run for president. Hot take. I know a lot of people love the trend. I don't think so. I heard for 28. I can see it 28 run.
He's got time, man. He's got time. He doesn't need to rush this.
And he's already filed paperwork to run for governor again in the state of Florida. Keep the state of Florida going. I know Vince has said some great things about this as well. Vince Dow. He said that, hey, well, he's not going to have to deal with a gridlocked government while in Florida. He's going to be able to be an effective legislator. He gets things done. He becomes the president. He doesn't have that as much. And of course, who the heck's going to be able to pull the crowds of a Donald Trump? Like a pop icon, like nobody.
That's something people don't understand. Ron can handle the media, and he's a little more, tactful than maybe Trump, was. The thing about Ron, though, is Ron doesn't have the same energy and doesn't carry the same crowds, and he probably won't pull the same amount of votes.
Exactly.
Genuinely, Ron is absolutely fantastic and killing it. His name is becoming a household brand across the movement. The thing about it, though, is Trump turned out people that you would never even thought could ever come out to vote before. And the question is, can Ron do that himself and duplicate that? That's a big if. It's a big ask. And that's something that we're not sure of at the moment. Ron gives good speeches. He doesn't give Trump energy speeches. He doesn't. I love Ron to death, but it's a fact. He doesn't put off that energy.
Yep. And I think as long as Trump needs to be a little bit more like he was in 2016 versus 2020. And I know especially a lot of people do not like some of his stances on the vaccines as of late. I think he should ditch some of what the consultants are and become less of a politician because he very much so seems like that. So there are some critiques. And I think if Trump were to run again, he would have to run on a platform addressing the big tech issue in this country. And hopefully it's already getting pushed toward that with our new House that will be coming back when the Republicans win the House here this year and then going into 2024, carrying momentum. And I think Trump will have a lot of momentum going into 2024 because we don't know with good old Sleepy Joe over here. We're already under 1 year of his administration. We're already seeing the effects of this, and it's not very good. So I think he's going to have a lot of momentum going into 2024.
Yeah, inflation's over 7% at the moment, which is not good. It's really not good. And when people always think, oh, inflation is necessary, I said, yeah, well, how's inflation matching your job's annual raise? When you get a raise of 2 to 3%, and then inflation hits at 7, you're losing money, buddy. You're not making, you're losing money going into this next year because of the state of this economy. So no, it is a bad thing. Things that shouldn't have happened are happening. One, because we made the terrible trade deals that we really should have never gotten ourselves into. We canceled the Keystone Pipeline, ruined the supply chain. It's absolutely murked. And yeah, that's why we're here. Where we're at. That's just a few things here, but incompetent leadership. We have a guy that calls a lid at 1 p.m. He goes off on vacations every weekend, takes an extended vacay. He can't really speak in full sentences, and he doesn't really know where he's at, and that's kind of concerning.
Yep.
Really concerning, honestly. It's
and many people know that the Biden administration, that Biden is a puppet, and there's other things working out, and you see it when we were talking about, or actually what I saw this past thing with the New Year's. I remember, I don't know, did you see the New Year's video with Joe Biden?
Yeah.
Did you see it with the dog? I wonder if we could pull that up. I think that would be fun to.
You should. Yeah, you should be able to share it.
Let's see. Yeah, it was really, really cringe. Oh, here we go. Let me see. Oh, here we go. Let me see. Can I share this correctly, or how do I do it? Share the screen? Do I share the full screen, or what are we doing?
You can, you can try to share the full screen, or you can share the tab. Either one works.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think it's so cringe, but I think it's so interesting. Okay, let's see. Oh, I don't even know. Yeah, I don't know if you can pull it up on your end, Cristian.
Yeah, definitely. Just send me a link, and I've got it. Just drop it in
the
private. Yeah.
Oops, wrong link, man.
Very good. But it's just we're at this point with this administration, and I don't look anymore. People are like, did you see what he said? I said, no, I don't want to look anymore. It just makes me angry and disappointed at the same time. We know he didn't get 81 million votes. Take me off of every platform, kick me off, and ban me. I'll say it. He didn't get 81 million votes. Whatever you want to do with that information, whatever, but I think a lot of us can agree here, sit here and just say, 81 million votes doesn't sound right. It just doesn't. That doesn't seem to add up here. It doesn't seem plausible. Genuinely does not seem plausible. And if you do believe that 100%, that you really think that he did, let me know what you're smoking, and I'll recommend it to some of my friends that enjoy that type of stuff. I don't do it myself, but I think they would, because whatever you're on has got to be good.
To introduce this special New Year's Eve message from President Joe Biden and Dr. Jill Biden.
Happy New Year, America.
From our family to yours, we wish you peace, joy, and good health in the year ahead.
We learned again this year what we've always known. There's no quit in America. No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome. This virus has been tough, but we've been tougher.
We've seen that in the dedication shown by the doctors and nurses, educators and parents, first responders, and all frontline and essential workers. And we've seen it in the courage of our service members and military families who stand guard over our freedom all over the world and here at home.
As we enter the new year, I'm more optimistic about America's future than I've ever been. At our best, we've taken every crisis we faced and turned it into an opportunity to be a stronger and a better nation.
We will again, and we'll do it together.
That's because we are the United States of America. There's nothing we can't do if we do it together.
Happy New Year, and may God bless you and your family.
And may God protect our troops. Hey, sit.
The dog.
Sit. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy, yes.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So cringe.
Happy New Year.
So cringe.
And there's people that'll watch it and be like, yeah, we're coming back. And then the reality, people that actually know the reality of everything, they're like, yeah, we're on a bad trend and this is going to get really worse. And yeah, we're probably going to have an economic collapse here pretty soon. People that realize the reality of this is like, we're not headed in a good direction. We're not bouncing back from anything right now unless something really changes. Because if we come on with this build back better, we're keeping building the way we are, we're going to be in the toilet. Like,
well,
we already
when
are.
you think about it, Christian, build back better means that you got to tear it down before you build back. So that's exactly what they're doing. And very much the left wants to take anything that's remnants of the United States. They want to replace the Constitution. They want to put it in their image, their country, and that's where they're headed with this.
Yeah.
And you look about how much Jill Biden had done that. Oh, there we go. The great state of Ohio. Yes, Christian needs us more than we need him. Sad.
I mean, you guys really need me a lot more than I think we need the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals. Very sad, sorry teams. And the Ohio State Buckeyes. I can't forget those guys.
Good old Ohio.
But no, I mean, Jim Jordan's great. I enjoy him. I got to meet him at America Fest. Really cool guy. But I wish, if we could see some of that lobbyist money. I do believe he's getting paid by Google and big tech, and I wish he wasn't, and I wish he wouldn't take money from those people, and I wish he'd be a standout guy. Things might change here in the next few years. Don't bank on it, but it's the state of our Congress is that everybody's paid off and bought by something. And if I really think Jim would be the guy to be the stand-up guy to stop it and would lead the charge. I really like him a lot, but that's where we're at with it. Never meet your heroes, folks. Never meet your heroes. But, Ohio's, cool. John Kasich's not. But, maybe one day I'll go to Ohio. Probably not, but maybe one day. We're at this point, Matt, where everything that we see on TV, genuinely, we already have it. Like it's the whole thing. We see something in the news, we already have like an 80% distrust of it. Like no matter what we see, we're already like, oh, that's not real. Then we actually have to look and see if it actually is anything remotely true about it. And a lot of times it's not, and it doesn't help at all. And then we get every single news article and everything. I'm just looking. I'm like, yeah, I don't buy this. This is crap. Like everything. It just doesn't hit anymore, and that's sad because. No, American news sources aren't reliable at all, and people can't trust anything that they see. It's not a way to have a happy and healthy society, I don't think at all. People don't trust anything, and then they hate their neighbors, and it's all strung up out of place. We're literally we were fine, man. We're 60 plus years after the Civil Rights Act now. And yet we have people literally talking about how, this is worse than the Civil Rights Act, and Trump divided more people than the Civil Rights Act before then, and all these horrible things. Like, how did this happen? And this is just recent because we were doing great up until 2016. We were doing fantastic. And all of a sudden we had someone come in and they said he was a Nazi running for president. And then everything got flipped upside down, and then everybody hates each other.
Well, I wouldn't say everything was going great.
No, it was going great. We were living in harmony for somewhat. We were doing fine. Even with political discourse and everything like that, it was fine. Dems and Republicans seemed to somewhat get along with whatever. I mean, living in California in the Central Valley, I was there too, and things seem to be okay. Now everything's so highly politicized through the roof. You can't even have Thanksgiving dinner without somebody getting angry and leaving.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking where we're at as a country. It was even in 2016, we were not in the best situation, but I guess in terms of politicization, I can't even speak right. But that's at an all-time high. I would agree with that. But yeah, a lot of this you could tie back to a lot of the 60s and 70s, of course. A lot of people refer back to the sexual revolution, the baby boomers. A lot of the blame can be placed on that. And we've just seen decades and decades of this leftist thought throughout our society. And we're just hitting, I guess you would say, more so the boiling point of all of this as a culmination of all of these things. So I don't know. I'm we're still not in the best, but I do agree that it was kind of people kind of kept it under wraps per se. And then all of a sudden somebody like Donald Trump showed up on the scene and really kind of exploded political discourse on a new level. So because we've had pretty much weak Republicans for many years. So, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. So before we go ahead and wrap this up, what are your final thoughts here? Putting this all together. Any last things that you had that you didn't get out?
I just think if you love your country, you want to see it go in a better direction, I think you have to get involved in some way, shape, or form. And if you're not going to get involved and knock doors and do that, go and support independent media sources. Go and support people that are on the front lines of the fight to save our country, and go and get involved. It's one of those things where you just can't sit back idly by and let your country go to crap. It already is crap in many such cases, but you have to get involved before it's too late. And I was tweeting that out today because, like I said, there's a lot of complainers, but not enough doers. So go out and be a doer.
Definitely. I think a lot of times when I get angry when I see everything that's going on here, and sometimes I have to stop myself and realize that, while God does have a plan here, it is upon us to, go out and live our purpose and what we're supposed to be doing here. And while I get mad at everybody else for not doing what they're supposed to be doing, I still have things that I have to do myself, on a daily basis, things that I can be doing to advance, my cause or my agenda, whatever I have going on. And I think if we all took an individual approach to it and had some personal accountability with what we see going on, I think we could get a lot more done. And that's my call here, is for everyone else. If you're hearing this, seeing this, whatever it might be, take it day by day, but it's time to get moving.
Yep. And you speak about reclaiming kind of like an individual if you're lost. And I got to plug it because I'm doing it right now. 75 Hard. It's 75 Hard by a program by Andy Frisella. It's a great program. Look it up. There's a book out, and it's a free program that you can do yourself. Cristian, is it okay if I plug this?
It's fine.
It's good. All right. And it's a beautiful program because it kind of works on mental toughness and self-accountability and just everything in your life. It really kind of brings things together. You do 2 workouts a day, 1 outside, 1 inside. You read a book, 10 pages a day, something that's going to really work on either a specific field that you're studying in or working on that, drinking a gallon of water a day. And I'm forgetting a little bit of the other ones. But yeah, it's a great program. I'd say highly recommend to go check it out. I've been plugging it every day that I possibly can. 75 Hard. I still got to get another workout in, but it's a great program. If you guys don't feel like you guys are in tune, or you just want to work on some stuff and self-accountability, highly recommend to go check the program out for any of those watching out there. So appreciate that last second plug, Cristian.
Of course. Matt, where can people find you at? I know you have your own podcast, The Matt White Show, so people might want to go ahead and check you out and follow you there. So where can they find you?
Yep. So Instagram, Real Matthew White. If you want to follow the show account, it's Matthew White Show. Somebody took the Matthew White Show off Instagram, so I'm really kind of sad about that. And you guys can find me on Twitter at Real Matthew White. And you guys can find me there and follow, keep up to date on everything. And Apple Podcasts, we have the show there, Spotify, pretty much anywhere you guys get your podcasts. And make sure to go follow. Leave a 5-star review after you listen. If you don't like it, I just say forget about it and go about your day. So go rant on other stuff, So, but yeah, appreciate being on, Cristian.
Man, thanks for coming on. Folks, thank you for tuning in again. It's great to be back. This has been another episode of Black Friday, where these opinions are not for sale. We will see you next time.